Nancy Pelosi of California. Leader Pelosi, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Good morning. My pleasure to be with you from Texas.
Let me ask you, since you are coming from a state that might be impacted by a border wall, is there any scenario that you will support or that Democrats will help keep the government open if there is money designated to build the wall?
The Democrats do not support the wall. And I think that the Republicans on the border states do not support the wall. The Republicans have the votes in the House and the Senate and the White House to keep government open. The burden to keep it open is on the Republicans. The wall is, in my view, immoral, expensive, unwise. And when the president says, well, I promised a wall during my campaign, I don't think he said he was going to pass billions of dollars of cost of the wall onto the taxpayer.
Well, let me ask you this, though. Look, the budget director of the United States said, hey, elections have consequences. Republicans are in charge, as you just pointed out. But there are some Democratic spending priorities you want to push for, including to help make sure that while Obamacare is still law, it is fully functioning. What's wrong with giving the president his money for a border wall in exchange for a priority that is not his, keeping Obamacare fully functional and funded, as a priority that's important to you? What's wrong with that kind of horse trading in Washington?
What is wrong with it, that scenario, is the wall. The president talks about how tall it is, who's going to pay for it, and all the rest of that. But you have to understand this part of the country. There's a community with a border going through it. The president, I think, talking about this wall, is expressing a sign of weakness. He's saying, I can't control our borders, I have to build a wall. We certainly would like to, we have a responsibility to control our borders. Building a wall is not an answer, not here or any place.
All right, let me move on to sort of the state of the Democratic Party now. I think there's, obviously, it depends on where you sit on the Georgia result, on whether it's a good thing or a bad thing for the party. But let me ask you this. Is the energy inside the Democratic Party a bit overstated if Jon Ossoff gets the same number that Hillary Clinton got in that district?
No, not at all. Hillary Clinton is a very famous person running for president of the United States in a high-profile election. Jon Ossoff ran and is running in an off-year election. Low turnout and the rest. The enthusiasm for him, the young man, Georgetown, 2009, we're very proud of that, and really just someone who has attracted personally such support. He made a remarkable showing. It's about him and the commitment he has made to the people of that district.
Let me ask you,
I feel very confident.
What should unify the Democratic Party? What should make somebody a Democrat and not a Democrat? And I ask it in this way. There's been a lot of back and forth, especially among abortion rights activists, about a decision of the Democratic Party to support a candidate for mayor in Omaha, a Democrat, who happens to be pro-life. And there are some that, and at some point, the Democratic National Committee chairman actually had to put out the following statement after 3 days of back and forth. He said, I fundamentally disagree with Heath Mellow's personal beliefs, the candidate for Omaha mayor, about women's reproductive health. It is a promising step that the candidate now shares the Democratic Party's position on women's fundamental rights. Each candidate who runs as a Democrat should do the same, because every woman should be able to make her own health choices, period. Can you be a Democrat?
Why don't you interview Tom Perez?
Let me ask you this, but can you be a Democrat and the support of the Democratic Party if you're pro-life?
Of course. Of course. I have served for many years in Congress with members who have not shared my very positive, my family would say, aggressive position on promoting a woman's right to choose. But what you asked at the first part of the question before you went off was about what unifies Democrats. And what unifies, people say to me all the time, oh, you do such a good job unifying the House Democrats. I say, I don't. Our values unify us. We are unified with our commitment to America's working families, about job creation, about budget policies that invest in the future, good paying jobs. And that's what we'd like to see a debate on vis-a-vis the President of the United States. He promised jobs. Right. Show us the jobs. Where's his infrastructure bill? There are many promises made,
Right.
promises broken. And here's the thing.
Right.
Where's the infrastructure bill? President was supposed to have a strong infrastructure bill come in. The infrastructure bill is one of the biggest secrets in Washington, D.C., second only to the president's not showing us his tax returns. We need to see those so we can see how his tax policy will affect his own tax situation. We need to see them so we can see what is the hold that the Russians have on him politically, financially, and personally.
Let me.
So this is about job creation, job creation for the middle class and working families who aspire to it. That is what unifies Democrats.
Very quickly, I want to show two clips of TV ads that were run against Democrats in Georgia and Montana. Take a look.
Nancy Pelosi's liberal agenda put America $20 trillion in debt, and John Ossoff is on her side.
Rob Quist talks folksy, but his record is more Nancy Pelosi than Montana. Can you trust Quist and Pelosi with your money?
Are you at all concerned that you could play an outsized role, that if you're more unpopular in a specific district, you could contribute to the loss of a Democrat?
Well, when Republicans put forth these ads, it shows the bankruptcy of their own initiatives. The voters in their districts want to know what they are going to do for them. But since you brought it up, and I'm glad you did, I think it's really important for the voters in those districts to know who the candidates will be voting with. Will they be voting with Paul Ryan, who wants to eliminate the guarantee of Medicare, who has voted to privatize Social Security, who's there to dismantle Medicaid? And so it's not a question of the person, just as it isn't about the president. It's a question of the policy. So if you want to vote for someone like Paul Ryan for Speaker, and that is a vote to dismantle Medicaid, it is a vote to eliminate the guarantee of Medicare. Medicare is a guarantee. You take away the guarantee, you eliminate Medicare as we know it, and to move on to privatization. And by the way, those views are shared by the president's appointees to his cabinet.
Leader Pelosi, I will leave it there. Unfortunately, I have more questions, but never enough time. I appreciate you coming on and sharing your views, coming from Texas. Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here, and then click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.